Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Howe. I'm here to talk to you tonight about vulnerability. Rolling over and getting that belly pat feels oh so good, but is slightly dangerous because vulnerability is actually the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed either physically or emotionally. So it's no wonder that we talk about vulnerability being this wonderful thing that we should all do, but what does the practice of that mean? I love this quote from the beginning of Howard's End, E.M. Forster, only connect. I feel like when we have those connections with people, it's when we lose sense of time. It's when we feel connected with people and feel a sense of sameness. Now, shame is usually what stops us from vulnerability, and this is a fear of disconnection or of unworthiness. And shame, we know, we say burning shame. Shame you can feel, and it's very tightly related to vulnerabilities. So I am a storyteller, and I tell my personal stories on stage all throughout Chicago, and telling your story can be really scary because you may have spent many years, like myself, not telling your stories and worrying about what other people would think. So when you're a storyteller, you have a relationship to your story and you have a relationship to the audience. So you can see those two parts of the triangle match with the teller, but the audience and the story have a different relationship. And your vulnerability, your courage, becomes something that can not only express your own vulnerabilities, but also connect with other people's vulnerabilities. And I love that the Latin of courage, cur, means heart. And so this sort of idea of wholehearted living through vulnerability. So you have to bring yourself to the table. And a lot of times that means working on your own deep sense of worthiness to get away from those shameful feelings, to know how to be therapeutic in your storytelling, but not having it be therapy on stage. So essentially it's acting like yourself, which takes a lot of practice. And my mind is a neighborhood I try not to go into alone. So sometimes finding your vulnerabilities can be a really scary exercise. I started going to storytelling shows. I didn't even know they were a thing about a decade ago. And I found these people telling stories about the most embarrassing, hilarious, sad, horrible, tragic, glorious things. And I was just into it. I could not get enough. And I noticed that when people really hit on vulnerabilities, that there are certain things people would come up to them, they would want to touch them, shake their hand. They would tell you about their stories a long time later. Now, before I myself got on stage, I decided to do some work on my own deep sense of worthiness. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat, which was crazy, and you can see the list of things I could not do there. I also did a Dune Shack artist residency outside of Provincetown, Massachusetts. When I came back from doing these things, from being alone, I came back with a vengeance. You can see here me just spreading my vulnerability all over town. And there's a TEDx talk in there as well on vulnerability, which was terrifying in and of itself. I then decided to start my own show called Story Sessions, and that's all true stories live with music as well. And we grew from the back room of a bar here, the Dog's Bollocks, no longer, but I'm sure you'll never forget the name now. And you can see it's just getting a mic and having people show up, and we had an illustrator for the stories, so really showcasing other people's vulnerabilities. Decided to take it to the next level, took it to City Winery. I got to showcase a lot of young musicians, again, that vulnerability of starting out in an arts career, and really just bringing so much joy and a sense of really importance to what people were sharing. I love this quote: vulnerability is not about fear and grief and disappointment. It is the birthplace of everything we're hungry for. Brene Brown. If you don't know Brene Brown, I'm sure many of you do, but run out and watch anything TED Talk related with Brene Brown or any of her books. Here's my show now. It's at a cafe in Edgewater up in the upper left-hand side. Mike and Ann run that cafe. We have illustrations. You can see a great audience there. And this is what I get to bring to my community. Smiling faces of people who have just shared their vulnerabilities with everyone on stage. And the good that I see come out of that, not only just for the people, but their communities as well. Certainly my life has been improved. As you can see from another little doggy getting a pet on the belly, embrace vulnerability. It can be a lot of fun, and it's really worth the investment. So I hope this may have inspired you to tell your own stories, even if that's just at the dinner table. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of the show.